Welcome to Disarrange 1775, your number one live talk show.
I love that intro, man. It never it never gets old.
No, I just love the fact that there's no one else shredded out there like that. That's a proprietary sound, and it just gets me going every time. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm a little under the weather, a little sick. I don't know what I got yet. I got a couple tests going, but I'm fighting through. So
yeah, man. When we talked earlier today, I could tell you were a little under the weather. So I appreciate you being here with me, man. I know being sick, I get miserable, and they say guys are the worst people to get sick, right? It's turning into little girls.
I'm telling you, there's childbirth, right?
Yeah,
and it's 1 and 1A with a man cold. So I mean,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're right there. But no, it's it could be anything right now, man. It's the season of sickness, so just got to fight through it, and it is what it is.
That's right, my friend. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to tonight very much. We've done a lot of work this weekend in terms of preparation. I'm excited to introduce our guest tonight for our audience and specifically for our first responders and veterans out there tonight, and for future as it's posted on social media. So,
yes, sir.
Why don't we let's get over? You want to jump into our sponsors real quick, and then we'll get into the show, pal.
Yes, sir. So our first sponsor of today's show is Neptune's Plumbing and Heating. They are in Baltimore, Maryland. The man Dan is a third-generation plumber who specializes in wells, water treatment, drain cleaning, and boilers. He does residential and some light commercial markets. Give Dan a call. Phone number is on the screen, 410-776-5864. There's no job too big, no job too small. That's our first sponsor today, so we'd like to thank Neptune's Plumbing. Our second one is Sunny May Cleaners. Our girl Bella Wiley and her staff specialize in residential and commercial cleaning. You can give them a call at 443-939-4578. And you can submit all your cleaning requests online to them also. Email them at info@sunnymaycleaners.com and visit them online at sunnymaycleaners.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much to both our sponsors. And if you're a local business in the Baltimore or Michigan area and would like to get on our sponsorship list, please DM us or hit us up at disarrange1775@gmail.com or check us out on all our social media platforms, disarrange1775. Shoot us a DM and make sure you also check us out on Spotify, disarrange1775 Talk Show. So again, thank you very much to our sponsors, and yeah, man, let's hop into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to Disarrange 1775, your number one live and interactive talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Turner. Joined with me is my co-host, Matthew Gardner. Together, we host a platform that supports mental health growth amongst our veteran community and beyond. So join us right here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we talk to our guests that share raw information and uncensored and real-life experiences. By combining our networks, we hope to provide to our community the resources to continue their pursuit of happiness. So as long as I can remember, I've always been part of a team. I've always been part of a group. And for something like that for me, as a child, kind of molded something different inside of me, and I had the opportunity at a young age to be part of a hockey team. So as young as I was, I can remember being a part of a team, and something about that team atmosphere, that a bunch of unlike people going towards one common goal, something that always really stuck with me. And being a child, I was very fortunate with my grandparents and my mother to be able to provide that team atmosphere for me. And I understand that there might have been a lot of resources sacrificed to be able to provide that to me, but looking at where I am now, I think the team structure, that's when it was really set into me. So I remember when hockey was over for me, I had to try to figure out what my next shift would be. And it was really hard because as you know, they teach us how to be a part of a team and work a part of a team our whole lives. And then as soon as you're done in the real world, everybody's out there for themselves. And that's what I truly, truly felt. And everywhere I looked, every corner I turned, it was just a bunch of individuals. And it just seemed like a spot that I didn't fit until I found the Marine Corps. When I found the Marine Corps and I understood kind of what it was, there's two main reasons why I did what I did and joined what I joined. And although I'm not going to share one of the reasons right now, it's for another time. The one reason that I joined was for the camaraderie. And I remember when I'm picking my MOS, I did all the testing and did everything, got high scores. And I remember the day that I chose my MOS and chose my future in the military. My recruiter was sitting there, compiling a list of all the MOSs that I qualified for, and and I kind of just sat down, grabbed a magazine, and flipped it open. And as I flipped it open, I just saw 10, 12 Marines in front of this huge chunk of metal. And I said, "Hey," I said, "Sergeant Scringe," I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, with a sigh, he looks at me, he goes, "It's field artillery, Andrew." He's like, "That's the 0811s." He goes, it's a miserable job. It's hard work, and you qualify for a lot better." And I kind of looked at him, and I looked back down at the page. I looked back at him, and I said, "Well, what are all these people right here?" And he goes, "Oh, those are a cannon crew section." And I looked at him, and I was like, "I feel like you're not telling me something." He's like, "Listen, it's really, really hard work. I wouldn't recommend that you do it, but it's badass, and they're considered the king of battle." And right there, I was sold. I saw a group of 10 to 12 Marines on a gun section, working towards one goal: to fire rounds effectively downrange. I saw the brotherly. I saw, everybody's all rugged, got their hands around, and something clicked right there. And I was like, "This is what I've been missing." I haven't been a part of a team in years. I went through depression. I went through all these different things mentally that I was searching for. And I remember before I found that, I was very lost until I saw that page. And that was it. That solidified my journey going into the Marine Corps. So as I'm signing everything and I'm realizing I'm going to be an 0811, I completely jumped into it, knowing that I was going to get the team atmosphere and the camaraderie I was looking for, and I really did miss. Now let's fast forward, right? Let's fast forward to the day that I got out of the military. Just like many of you out there, a little anxious, a little excited, chest a little puffed out. But all of a sudden, as soon as you left that gate, our mission stopped. For whatever reason, that transition from military to civilian, something happens. I don't know what it is. I encourage somebody out there to think about it, and maybe they can find the answer. But for whatever happens from that transition, from serving our country and being team orientated and mission orientated to work towards a common goal and protect each other, something changes. Whatever happens when we get out, everybody runs off to their own silo, but the mission stays the same. The mission's always been look to the left, look to the right, make sure you guys go home. It's been the mission since day one, since I joined the military. I'm just having a hard time figuring out when we get out and we're done our service, our contractual agreement's up. Is that all it is for some people? It's not for me. It's definitely not for Matt, and it's definitely not for a lot of veterans out there. I just got done probably 20, 30 minutes ago. I just got done a very big prolonged exposure therapy session for about 90 minutes. And I've been on edge. I'm on edge right now. I'm a little shaky, a little nervous. But the one thing that I can rely on, the one concept I have right now in my life is this: being able to connect with veterans and like people going towards one common goal of protecting veterans, protecting our people of trauma, protecting first responders, and just having people have a space to go to relax and be able to be themselves. So that's my another long-winded intro But that's how I kind of stumbled across our guest tonight. And Matt, you've looked into him quite a bit also, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, let me just say that your intros every time we get on get longer and longer. I think eventually we're just going to end up welcoming our guests and having to sign off. I'm just teasing, man. No, it's well said. And you know what? When we met our guest and he told us how he came about Veterans Club and everything he's doing, it just shined a light on everything we were doing, man, because we used to talk to each other all the time and be there for each other, right? Have each other's six. And I remember saying, like, why aren't we doing this for everybody else? Like, where's the rest of the guys? What are they doing? How are they doing? And that's why we started this. And I think once we get our guest on here, he's going to elaborate more on his vision for Veterans Club, and you'll see a lot of similarities. But I'm very excited. I don't want to waste any more time. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome in Mr. Jeremy Harrell of Veterans Club.
There he is. There he is.
How you guys doing? How's it going?
Good. How you doing, sir?
Doing really well. Really well.
So yeah, man, we appreciate. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
So I reached out to Jeremy. It was about a month ago for planning our February show, and I said, "Hey, man, it was kind of a shot in the dark. I've been watching his work on social media for a while now, and kind of just following along, and throwing a like and a share here and there. But I got compelled to reach out, and you've been very responsive to us and very helpful and willing to share and provide resources, and we're excited to learn more about you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Any chance that I have to put out some information that may help our brothers and sisters, I'm all about it. It's priority number one, man. It's a passion, not a hobby. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you guys for taking a leap of faith and creating a platform where folks like myself can come in and just really hopefully add value to your message, to your vision. So I look forward to doing this. I think it's going to be a great show.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, so everybody that's out there that needs to know or wants to know, Jeremy is the founder and CEO of Veterans Club Inc. And you're out of Kentucky, am I right, sir?
Yep. Out of right outside of Louisville, Kentucky. Yep.
Louisville, Kentucky. All right. So if you could just give us a little bit of background, I'm kind of curious. I want to set a stage for our listeners and our viewers. Can you give us a little bit of a background of your military service and kind of how that went?
Yeah, so I'll take it even a quick step before that. I grew up in a pretty toxic environment, man, and I was looking initially for a way out and looking for an identity, something that I could be proud of. One of the things that I remember thinking is I don't necessarily want to be where I come from, and so I thought the best way to do that is to go serve our country. And so I joined the military. I joined the Army right out of high school. And spent 9 years in the military before getting out. Did a deployment to Iraq in 2003 and 2004. Worked at an enemy prisoner of war camp. A couple of them actually did some convoy security, some stuff like that, and got out for medical reasons. And then try to go into the corporate world and quickly realized that although I could be successful there, it wasn't a passion. It wasn't something that I envisioned myself doing for long term. And because I didn't come from money, I've never been driven by money. I've been driven by what fulfills me, right? What fulfills the whole. But I missed serving in the military, and I would have been the 30-year guy. You would have had to kick me out. You would have had to somehow you would have had to get the MPs to take me off base. But
right.
But I really enjoyed it. And what I enjoyed about it was what you just said in your introduction was the camaraderie. Let's be honest. Some of the stuff that we had to do, I don't miss a lot of that stuff, right? I don't miss the PMCS. I don't miss the redundancy and some of the crazy ideas and training that we did. But I do miss breaking bread with my brothers and sisters, sitting under a tree in the middle of the field at the range, just really talking about life and really trying to envision what we were going to do next. And so, after being out for a while and going through some struggles from my time in service, I realized that we could still do that moving forward. So, that's kind of what led me into the next chapter. I wanted to continue to serve. I couldn't play in that game anymore, but I knew that I could do something to still be connected to the military, first responder community. And I felt, and I later learned, I didn't know at the time, I was very depressed about not being able to continue. But hindsight's 20/20, they say, and looking back, I realized that this was the biggest blessing in my life. And so real quick, before we go into the next thing, for those out there who may be facing these same sort of setback, and it may be the worst day, just know that this will pass, and it could be the best day of the rest of your life. And I mean that only because I experienced it.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you touched on that, because when we spoke the other night, Jeremy, you said something along those lines, and it kind of goes that it always can be worse, and you never know what your path is meant to be, and being able to follow your heart. And I'm sure that was a level of that you've had when you had to make those decisions to be like, you know what, man, maybe helping people is the thing to do. And I was been miserable because I'm out of the fight per se, but there's still a lot of fight left.
Yeah, man, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So Jeremy, can you talk a little bit about some of the difficulties in transitioning out of the military? Obviously you hit a little bit on it, and how those events and circumstances played a role in the creation of Veterans Club.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I got out and got into the civilian workforce, one thing that the military taught, I think a lot of us, is an incredible work ethic. But also what it taught is the act of avoidance, right? And that we can rely on other things to keep our mind busy. And they could be really productive things, but we're not necessarily, addressing the problem. Right. So that was one of the things. I got out, I got into the workforce. I did really well in logistic management, moved up at some pretty big companies in the United States. But I just never, like I said, I just never had that fulfillment. And therefore I felt like I was constantly depressed. I felt like my life was going in reverse. I felt like a failure, really, because my whole identity as a person was in the military. It was being a soldier in the United States Army. I never even considered what that would look like if something was to happen and I couldn't continue to play in the game. And I think that happens a lot in the veteran community because, let's face it, being in the military, you have to be dedicated. You have to give 100%. When you do that, though, if you're not careful, your identity gets wrapped up in that. Yep. And when something comes in, because one thing we know is that it's not hard to be given the boot out of the military, right? So when that time comes, and you're not ready for it, then you're going to be lost. And so that's what I felt like. I felt like, yeah, that's cool. I got a good job. People keep telling me it's a good job. I make decent money. I can provide for my family, but I'm miserable. And this isn't what I feel like I'm called to do. And then recognizing also that throughout this process, I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm having trouble, I'm having ruminating thoughts of my service, just really struggling to adapt to this new world, essentially. I mean, I joined right out of high school, and I get into this new world where there's less structure, there's less discipline. You can't solve problems the same way, right?
Right.
I remember being, I worked at UPS, and I remember had an employee come up to me and said, "Oh, I'm going to have to leave. I'm having some stomach issues." And I just remember like looking at that person almost in disgust, like, "What? You can't leave? Like, that's not an option." Right. In my head, that was my culture for so long. And right. So, I was probably a HR nightmare, to be honest.
I'm sure.
But I didn't mean it to be facetious. I meant it like, hey, like you said, Andrew, we're a team. Yeah, like if we're only as strong as our weakest link. 100%. If you're not here, then everybody has to pick up slack. And really, it wasn't as serious humping packages as it was, right, being deployed and trying to do your mission overseas. But I couldn't make that adjustment in my head. I couldn't flip that switch. And I had a terrible time trying to do that. And it interrupted and it destroyed essentially so many personal relationships I had with not just friends, but family, ex-wives. I have 3 of those, right? It interfered with the relationships I had with my kids for a while. I just really couldn't figure it out. And I got so frustrated that I couldn't figure it out. And then when I looked around for support, there wasn't anybody really sticking out going, hey, we're over here to help. Yeah, I mean, you could get on Google and you could do some research and you could find some organizations that help, but I wasn't in a mind space to really do that sort of research, right? I didn't even, for a long time, I didn't even realize that there was something wrong. I felt like this was my new normal. And it wasn't until I had a boss who was a retired Marine who noticed, and he would say things like, your cognitive processing's off. I'm just noticing these things. And I'm like, that don't make any sense. Like, and honestly, at that point, I'll be honest, I didn't even know what cognitive meant, right? I mean, I did. I'm like, whatever you're talking about, that's not the case. And,
yeah, right. You're wrong.
Yeah. And then he would talk about, some of your employees are saying you're unapproachable. So anyway, long story short, in that way, he eventually he fired me, and I thought, and being I'm a soldier, but he's a Marine. The brotherhood. I'm going, this isn't brotherhood. You don't fire. You don't fire people. I have a brand new baby. I have a son. Like I have a wife. I have things that I'm responsible for. This is not help. But he did. He said I'm gonna have to do that. And he said I want to encourage you to go seek help. And so I did. I went to the VA in Lexington, Kentucky. They put me through the ringer, a bunch of different testing, and come up with some diagnosis of PTSD and some other things, and some physical stuff. And I was really mad at him for a long time, man. But now that I look at it, that was a pivotal moment in my life. If he wouldn't have done that, I probably still would be working myself to death, having terrible relationships, and being miserable. And so really, like I was just saying earlier, that could be considered a really difficult situation for most people. But for me, looking back, it was the best thing that happened, because then it set me on this trajectory to where I had this, I want to beat this. Like I want to beat this thing that they tell me that controls me, right? So I want to beat this because we're fighters. That's what we do. And so I went on this whole campaign for years, just studying and learning and just trying every coping skill and mechanism to try to get on the other side of this. And then that's when I decided, when I felt like I was, and let me be clear for the viewers who are listening, I am not on the other side of this in the way that I would like to be. This is going to be a practice that's probably going to take me a lifetime, right? Yep. But when I felt like I was having more good days than bad days, I decided that it's time to help others who just went through, to not go through this process of almost a decade of suffering in silence without really trying to address the issue. And so that's where the inspiration for Veterans Club came along.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that background. During your, being in the creative process that we are here at Disarranged do, and we're very in the early stages of what and who we are. And was there any time in the beginning stages of creating Veterans Club that you had a lot of doubts? And if so, could you share some of those doubts and how you worked through them?
Absolutely. I'll tell you this, guys. I had doubts 30 minutes ago. Like, look, those doubts, of course, they're fewer and far between now, right? Because I'm learning as I go. And to be honest, I don't think I ever used the word nonprofit until I started one, right? I just knew that I wanted to help my brothers and sisters. I wanted to do it now. But then there's all this other stuff that comes into play when you think about nonprofits, all the administrative stuff that is not my gift. And luckily we have some people who help do that. But I had doubts often because it matters so much, right? If you're passionate about something and you guys are well on your way with this podcast, and there's going to be some times where you're going to have these doubts, they'll creep in. But what I know is that if I do something and it isn't successful, it's better than doing nothing and not knowing, right? And so when I have these doubts, I think about what we've accomplished so far. But one thing that kind of brings it all together is this is what we know about being veterans and first responders in the community is if we get a room full of vets and first responders together, something magical is going to happen on its own. It'll organically produce fruit.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so I go, why am I acting like I have to facilitate all this when all I really have to do is create the opportunity and encourage guys and ladies to come, and the rest will take care of its own self. And so in the beginning, to answer your question, I didn't have that kind of self-talk. I wasn't that confident, man. And so there were several times, and I'll talk about this one time when we started doing the equine facilitated mentoring. I was super excited because it had helped me personally so much with other programs that I've been through. And I remember this one session in particular. It was on Memorial Day. We like to do it on Memorial Day to help folks get through that, right? And so we're heading to the farm, and we had, I don't know, it was close to 20 people who RSVP'd. And then they started dropping like flies, right? I can't go. And I just remember we had like 2 guys who were still going. And I'm like, is this really going to be productive? Like, am I spinning my wheels here? Is this necessarily a need? And so luckily I called an old tanker, a friend of mine who ran another organization. And I said, I don't think this is going to work out. I don't think there's a need. And he said, is there anybody showing up? And I said, yeah, there's a couple folks showing up. He said, okay, then that's 2, man.
That's right.
And I thought, you know what? That's damn right. Like that's two people who, being there, they may be on the brink of pulling the trigger on themselves.
Yep.
And it matters. These people. And so I never worried about numbers after that. I just whether it's 1 or 100, man, we just focus on the one, and we do one at a time, right? That's our motto, is one person at a time. And so that was probably the closest I ever got to just going, I'm done with this. Because let me be clear too, when you're dealing with an anxiety disorder and it's debilitating, I have a high percentage of, and then you're dealing with depression and you're dealing with life issues. You don't have a lot of capacity to really do this program. And it was very easy for me just to go, okay, because all the issues that were told to me at the VA about how you can't do this anymore, you probably won't be able to do this anymore. Those thoughts, man, kept creeping in my mind. And so I was just ready to pull or throw the towel in. And luckily we didn't. And so now here we are. We don't have these issues anymore. But if we, like I said, if we have 1 person or 200, it's all good. But every so often doubt will creep in just because of the human nature, but what it matters what you do when the doubt comes, right? Are you going to let it kick your ass? Or are you going to go, you know what? I've come too far to quit. You guys, I'm not a Marine. I know you guys are. I know you guys went through the crucible. Mm-hmm. I know I hear that it's really tough. And I'm sure there were times that you were like, man, what am I doing? This is crazy.
Many times.
But how good did it feel when you guys were finished and you got that EGA, man? That's what I look at. That's what I think about. I'm just like, keep your eye on the prize. But yeah, I had doubts all the time, man. If I didn't, I would question whether I cared enough.
Right. No, it's amazing that you talked about just start with 2, and it's like with me and Turner, it was always just, we're going to do this organically, right? And we know the base of this product works, right? Because it's helped us, and we know that there's plenty of us's out there that need this, so the struggle of the ups and downs, and when it first starts, people are excited, and all of a sudden, you, like you said, you get those cancellations and this and that, and then on top of it, like you said, me and Turner just dealing with our PTSD or our anxiety, and all of a sudden, 2 days, for a couple of days, I don't want to talk, so you have to push through you got to push through all that stuff too. So you're still dealing with all this stuff. It's incredible. And I commend you. Can you talk a little bit, Jeremy, about like what you guys do in the Veterans Club, some of the activities and where you're at now with it?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'd like to speak on your last point about some days you don't feel like doing the things, you don't feel like talking. Yep. And I think it's really important to notate this is I often have those days, right? But the best thing I can do is to talk. The best thing I can do, but here's the difference, is not just talk, But when we have events and we're doing things together, is to just say that, like, a lot of leaders, no matter what organization you're a part of, feel uncomfortable being transparent with the people that they serve or that they lead. And I think that's the biggest issue that we have in leadership. For me, I'm cool with saying, hey, I'm here, guys, but I didn't want to be. Right. I didn't want to be, but I know that we need each other. And I hope that as we progress through this day, through this session, that you'll help me overcome this feeling, because I'm not out of the woods. And I'll tell you, when you do that, you show that level of vulnerability, which is a dirty word in the vet community and first responder community, and you show that level of transparency, you develop these authentic relationships with the people that are close to you and the people that you serve and work with. Man, it's the best thing ever. But yeah, so, the message there is, when you don't feel like doing it, that's when you need to do it. That's when you need to show up, right?
That's right.
But to your question, what we do at Veterans Club is the scope is, we want to provide an opportunity for veterans, their families, first responders, their families, active duty, to come and experience healing and recovery, and also to connect, right? Connection is the foundation of everything we do. And I really believe that connection is the way out of veteran suicide, right? I don't know too many people who would take their own lives in the presence of someone else. Right. And it's our duty, right? It's our duty, and part of the brotherhood that we experience is to connect with these folks and be that voice that says, what are you doing? Like, get up, let's go do something. Let's talk. Let's get lunch, get coffee. We do coffee, whatever it is. Right. But to have that connection. So the basis of all of our programs is connection, but through that, we do the equine facilitated mentoring. That's a nationally recognized program. We were just featured on History Channel and some Fox News, some other things about our program. That is an opportunity to learn horsemanship. So you learn a skill, but you also have an opportunity to see how horses have the unique ability to help us overcome these challenges. Horses are like a mirror to what we put out, right? And it really gives us time to practice with these animals, so that when we get back into our family unit, or we get back into our work or into our unit, whatever it is, whatever we do in the public, that we have the skills to recognize body language, the skills to kind of address the way we feel, and to recognize that, for example, it's not my kid's fault that I'm having these ruminating thoughts and I'm hypervigilant, right? They don't have a dog. They don't have a fight and they don't have a dog in a fight. So I have to recognize that, and these horses will help you regulate your emotions, because if I walk out to a horse and I'm anxious and aggressive, that horse doesn't want to be a part of what I'm doing, right? So it really addresses some of those things and really regulates our emotions and our interpersonal relationships and things like that. Additionally, we work with homeless veterans, but not to check the box, put them in a building, cross their name off a list. That's a Band-Aid situation, but we actually address the bleeding. So we bring homeless veterans into a community, a tiny home community we have, and we really give them an opportunity to get to the root cause of why they're in that situation. And they have up to a year to stay with us, which that's usually not the case. It's usually 30, 60, or 90 days. But they have a year to stay with us and just really be selfish and allow us and our experts and clinicians and just educators come in and really get them on the right path to leave that program and be successful and only come back to hang out, right? So we're very proud of that. We have a lady veteran program where we give lady vets an opportunity to connect, because let's face it, their needs are different than ours in a lot of ways. Yep. And I'm not an expert in lady vets, so I'm not the guy. So we create a platform for them to connect and hang out. And we do a ton of family outreach. We have a military child youth council where they go out into the community. They learn what the military veteran and active duty service member, what the kids need, and they bring it back to us, and we make it happen for them. So just what I would consider, just to sum it up, is wraparound services for first responders, veterans, active duty, and their families. Just whatever we can do to enhance their quality of life, we'll do it. So, we're just dedicated to that.
Awesome. That's I think that's really good. I think it's going to be a big resource for for
Yes.
a lot of our viewers. And
absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing all this and sharing your organization, and I appreciate what you do for us, for our community.
Absolutely.
And just to be clear, to show the growth of the Veterans Club, which you haven't always accepted first responders, right? Like you were strictly veterans in first, and then now we're going into first responders. And I think that just goes to show your commitment to this arena of people. And I commend you guys for what you're doing, and it's really cool. I'm glad our viewers that are joining us tonight and that will be able to listen to us from now on will have this as a resource. And so thank you very much, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so unofficially, we've always worked with first responders, but we wanted to make sure that we made it known nationwide.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so we unofficially, because let's face it, a lot of first responders have served or maybe are serving in the Guard, Reserve.
Yeah, 100%.
So we would cross paths that way, but we want to touch folks who may just be first responders only, who didn't serve. And so if you look at what's going on in the United States, and I won't go too far in the weeds on this, but they've been through a lot in the last several years. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, we do sort of the same job. We police overseas, and they police here in our communities every single day. And it's a disservice not to serve them. And so, yeah, we've been able to expand, and we have the capacity now to handle that workload. Mm-hmm. And we just really want people to connect with us. And yeah, we're in Kentucky, but it's important to note too on the show that we're not limited to Kentucky. Right. Anybody, anytime, anywhere can be a part of what we're doing. And if there's something that you want to see in your state or in your community, something that we do or put on an event that brings connection and camaraderie, it's really an email. You send us an email, we get the contact, we take care of the logistics. We have someone show up and be the facilitator, and that's how it works. We can easily bring a lot of the things that we do, connection opportunities, to your neck of the woods. Just get in contact with us. I mean, we're here for everybody, not just Kentucky or not just this region we're in. We're just here for everybody that needs us.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I think that the real important thing there that was said is having the availability for everybody that needs the help, right? So me and Turner talked about this, like, yeah, we're focused on veterans, of course, because that's what we are. But there's so many people in different walks of life that suffer from all sorts of trauma, and they just need somewhere to go to feel a part of something that's positive, where they can get some positive feedback, they can vent, they can feel a part of a group. That's what I mean. Disarranged, we're dysfunctional, we got all kinds of problems, but we're a family. Yes. And we're trying, you know what I mean? I love that part of it, man. I have one quick question.
Sure.
Do you see mainly like fresh transitioning service members, or is it all different types, men and women who have been out for a while, and also first responders, or is it mainly fresh transitioning service members who are having a hard time transitioning?
Yeah. So to be honest, we see everybody that are currently serving to World War II.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we love that too. Some programs out there, and I'm not a huge fan of this, are dedicated to a certain era of veterans.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's post 9/11, sometimes it's Vietnam. I mean, come on, man. We all signed that line, and whether you were in Normandy or whether you were in Afghanistan, we need to come together. And the details may be different in regards to our service. Yeah, the mission doesn't change, and the emotions that come from it don't change. And another thing that I want to mention is the reason why we bring families into this. That's also a unique thing. A lot of organizations don't focus on the family. I think as we do it and get better at it, I think people are looking and they're taking note and understanding. But what we realized is we could do so much in the lives of veterans, but if they're going home every night into an adverse environment that's full of pain and whatever it is, right? Maybe abuse at times, then they're going to regress, because there's so many guys that I know that we've talked to who go home and they're so excited to tell their families how much that they recognize some of the issues that they have, Now they know what it looks like. They've got some tools in the toolbox, and I can't wait to turn this corner. And then the spouse or the kids might go, yeah, we heard that before. You've said that the last 15 years. So then it's like a gut punch to the vet.
Shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the vet's like, okay, well, forget it.
Yeah.
And so we realize that, and we know that the best way to get behind this, and it's twofold. The best way to get behind this is to bring the families in so everybody can heal together. So everybody's on the same sheet of music, including the children. But then also I thought, and it was like one of those, you ever have those good thoughts when you're in the shower? Like you just have a good idea.
All the time.
Yeah. That's some of the best ideas, man. And
not just the shower though.
No, not just the shower. But I was thinking one time, I'm going, wait a minute. If I can't get a guy to come out and talk to me, to come out and connect, because he's in his rabbit hole, he's in this darkness.
Right.
But his wife wants to hang out with my wife.
Sure.
Who is the best person that's going to be able to get the vet out of the house?
The wife.
The spouse. Yeah, not me. So you may not want to, but she's gonna like, hey, yeah. She's like, hey, I want to hang out with Aaron. So we're going, right? So he comes over and I get FaceTime, and then that could save lives. That's how serious it is. That could be the difference on whether someone's in their basement with the barrel of a gun in their mouth, who says, hey, we're leaving, and just gets to get in front of you and say, hey, man, I get why you feel this way. I felt like this on Tuesday. Today's Thursday, and let me tell you, this will pass. And just to have that FaceTime. So that's the other reason why we bring family into it as well, because we got to pull out all the stops to save these folks' lives, man. We're dying more on our homeland than we ever did in country, and 100%. That's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing you said that about the family and the spouses. When me and Turner first started doing this, Jeremy, a lot of the feedback was coming from the females or the spouses, whether male or female,
from the veterans.
Yes, so right, because we understand what's going on, right? A lot of them, let's be honest, a lot of them have their own trauma now and suffering from living with that veteran. So bringing that group together, I think, is so awesome to just get that whole dynamic in there, and then everybody's on the same page, everybody's fighting for the same goal. It's that's awesome.
Yeah, man, and one of the things I know too is I can't understand the emotions of a woman, really, right? Mm-hmm. So if we just, and so my wife's involved, other spouses are involved, and on the flip side, if it's a female veteran, their spouse, their husband's involved, man, and we make it a family thing. And then what you notice is that families start calling each other, they start relying on each other outside of our events. Now, don't get me wrong, we had 185 significant events last year for veterans and families, but that's still not 365, right? And so we're trying to create a culture that people continue to connect even outside of the things that we do, because we want them to have that dynamic all the time, at all that support at their disposal. And people are seeing and noticing. I mean, I got a meeting this week with the Cincinnati VA, right? The VAs all over in the region are noticing, and they're asking, how do we do this? Awesome. How can we support? How can we be community partners? And listen, I haven't always had a great experience at the VA, but one thing that I can notice, at least for around where I'm at, is that they're legitimately trying, I think, and recognizing that, wait a minute, we don't have the answers. We need to go out and seek some of these organizations who are on the ground doing this every single day and get that feedback. So I'm optimistic about how that's going to turn out. But if it don't, the good news is that we're here, right? So the VA is a bonus. Other private agencies are a bonus. But if not, we're going to police our own. We're going to take care of our own. And if we can create a community that does that for each other, we don't worry about none of the other stuff, right? We're always going to have each other's back. So whether someone gets on board or not doesn't change the healing and recovery that occurs within the organization. So that's kind of how we lock that down.
So you said one of the things you said that is to save lives. That's what we're here to do.
Yes.
And I know when we talked earlier this week, and we kind of got the groundworks for the show tonight, I had mentioned that I wanted to make a trip out to Kentucky.
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
I think with when you saying that, we're all in the same boat. We're all here to save lives.
Right.
And however we can do that, I think we need to pursue, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, man, me and Matt want to make a commitment to you and the Veterans Club. To one, constantly we're going to be pushing your message, and we're going to be pushing your message to our community. And then I know a lot of the people watching are going to keep pushing it. We've got a good, solid support group, a small, solid support group.
Yeah.
But we want to make a commitment to you. We want to go out and get actually eyes on and hands on and see what you're actually doing. Definitely. Because at the end of the day, I feel like Disarrange 1775 is your little brother. I think that we have a lot of the same mission goals and statements within our organization. And as we grow, I'm kind of going to put you on the spot here, Jeremy, and I'm going to ask you straight up if you could kind of be our mentor in terms of this not-for-profit thing. Like you said, when you said, I didn't know much about not-for-profits other until I started one. We know this is where this is headed. We understand that, and we're ready for the challenge. But I would like to be able to ask you for some advice and some pointers, because at the end of the day, as much as we are willing to fail, we're here to save lives. And the more effective that we both can be is going to both push the mission and the goal forward.
Yeah, man. Here, that's good, because I like I said, this platform is going to the way that you guys run this, and I'm not just doing this because we're on this show. I'll talk to you when we weren't on a live show, right? The way that you guys are doing this, it's going to blow up. It's such a need, because you're talking about the real things, right? We talked about saving lives, man. I was on my way home from Mayfield, Kentucky today with one of my brothers. And we had just been doing tornado relief, and it's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in regards to destruction. It was a terrible tornado. And I looked at him and I'm like, I had thoughts, man, of not being on this earth anymore. As I'm helping these people, it was just that overwhelming emotional, just darkness, just come into my heart, man. And it's like addiction, right? Except with mental health. Like, once an addict, you're always going to have that desire. Like, so struggling with PTSD and things, I'm always going to be more susceptible to getting kicked in the nuts by it, right? And so anytime I'm in an environment that isn't conducive, then I'm going to sometimes fall back into that. So it's important that folks I want them to hear me say that although we're successful and although that we have a lot of value to offer, I'm not out of the woods. Right? Like I'm not out of the woods, and no matter the level of success, it doesn't necessarily make things feel better on the inside. But as far as you guys go, man, I would love to sit down, and I've done talks before, which is really strange, because we're 4 years old, and now I'm doing talks about creating nonprofits and stuff like that, which is really strange. But I've just been really lucky, and I've worked really hard, and I've studied. Man, if I would have studied like medicine. If I would have studied medicine this hard, I'd be well off. But you don't get rich in a non-for-profit world, right? So, but man, I'd love to come alongside you guys, because I believe in this mission and what you're doing, and the fact that you are willing to tell your story. So we got all the time in the world to connect and do that. So just whenever you're ready, our door is always open, and that goes for anybody that's listening. Anybody that's listening, man, I commend you on anything that you want to do that helps others. I'll never say no to people who are motivated to do good things, because the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. We know that. That's why we all work so hard, because there ain't a lot of people who want to do it. It ain't always sexy work. So for folks who want to step out and step into a desire to help, I'll always open my ear and be willing to help facilitate that. And so, yeah, anytime, man, you guys are always welcome in my house. In our office, whatever it is. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, then I give you my word. After this, Matt and I are going to sit down. We're going to figure out some logistics. And he's going to drive down from Michigan. I'm going to shoot over from Baltimore, and we're going to make it happen. And
awesome.
Also to our listeners, I know you touched on it a little bit, Jeremy, but you talked about doing like little coffee groups. I would encourage. I want to encourage our listeners to reach out, and if you want some logistics on how to organize little coffee groups for veterans and first responders or people, Jeremy, I believe has the solution. So if you would like help, reach out to me. we can maybe facilitate an off the air little half an hour tutorial on, hey, this is how I kind of set it up. This is how I communicate. And this is what the effectiveness is. And I would like to start that personally in my area in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I think it would be just a good way to start and see what it can do. So,
yeah, one of the reasons we did that in the early stages is because it's not expensive. And when you first start out, you don't just get a boatload of money, and I still don't get a boatload of money because who has a boatload of money? But anyway, when you're first starting out, it's very simple. Most people love coffee. And if not, coffee shops have their own different kind of beverages, but it's twofold, right? We get to support local coffee shops, local businesses, and usually there's 15 veteran-owned coffee shops because coffee and T-shirts is what we do, right? So, so we go and have coffee. I say, hey, just take a tab. People come in, they get a cup, they sit down, and I can tell you, for $50 a month, there's been people who have not taken their own lives by coming and having hard conversations with others, and that's priceless, right? So you can make it happen with $50, and you can change lives with $50. Some people think you need millions. Millions help, but you don't have to have millions. It's not the money that does it; it's the relationships that does it, right?
And and to touch on that, Jeremy, you're spot on. And I was the same way with trying to start this. I'm like, man, I need all this overhead. No, I don't. I need a cell phone, which everybody has, and I need a voice, and just start talking and recording. And it's just that little bit of a leap of faith that we touched on a few episodes ago that still is carrying on true to our message. So I'm definitely looking forward to following up with you after this off air in the coming days and weeks to just start structurally for us as Disarranged, start getting together. But I also want to start promoting and supporting some of your
absolutely
projects that you've worked very hard with.
Definitely.
I think I speak for Matt too.
Yeah,
we definitely believe in your brand and what you're doing
100%
for our community. So any way that we can promote and help be a satellite to your movement, Disarranged is here for you for sure.
I appreciate that. And Matt, real quick before I forget, man, at one point in my life, I lived in Rockville, Maryland.
Okay.
So you're probably familiar with that. Montgomery County, I think it is.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in Maryland.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm in Michigan.
Rockville's. Okay. I've got good friends, and one of them's an Army veteran. So I want to give a shout out to Andrew Weiss. He's a North Carolina cat, but he just moved to Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah. So sorry, got that crossed over, guys. But yeah, I lived up there for a little bit. It was a pretty cool spot.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we really unpacked a lot here. I really enjoyed it, and in reality, I could talk to you guys for hours, and I hope the listeners got some good nuggets of information, and I just want to challenge folks who are in that dark spot. Who it doesn't seem like there's a way out, and I know what that looks like, and it's bad. But every time we've ever thought that, we've somehow managed, right, to find our way out of that darkness. But one way that has helped me without fail, whether it was a big gesture or a small gesture, was pouring into other people, connecting with others, helping others, and everybody is equipped to do that. I just want to be clear. Like, I know some people might go, yeah, well, that's cool, Jeremy, but I don't think I have what it takes. Let me tell you, if you have a heartbeat, and you care about people, that's enough. You have what it takes. But when you go out and you start helping others, you start realizing how many people are in the same boat, and you don't feel alone anymore. So that takes care of a lot of the stuff that we deal with. But then you get that confidence, and you start hearing your own advice, which is hard to take. But you go, wow, where did that come from? I probably need to apply that to my life. But I just encourage people to just get out and do it. Just get out and do it. Everything will fall into place. You can't fail. It's a no-fail system because you're doing, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, you're pouring into other people. You're doing the right things, and you will feel better because of it. And but get involved in something that you're passionate about, and you won't have time to ruminate on some of these thoughts. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do this because of this, because I've been able to do what they said I can't do.
That's right.
You guys are doing what probably you felt like at one point that you couldn't do. We all have that same story. So we're not special flowers, right? So
Right.
I just want to encourage people to get involved in something that brings them happiness and passion, and everything else will fall into place. And it won't cure it, right? You won't be healed totally, but it will give you a good start in being able to manage it. And that's what we try to do, right? To a lot of times people try to beat PTSD, and I like to say PTS, and I talk about post-traumatic growth. I don't like the D word, but just try to manage it first. Don't try to defeat something without trying to manage it first, and then I'll tell you, you focus on that, and you will get to a place where you have more days that are good and less days that are bad, and then you win. So just want to send that level of encouragement out for everybody who may be watching.
No, absolutely appreciate that, Jeremy, and everybody that's watching, and for now and future episodes. I want you to take your phone out, and I want you to look up Veterans Club, show your support, give them a like, give them a follow, give them a listen, and look at what Jeremy and his organization are doing. He said it's and I agree, this is a no-fail system.
Yep.
Part of it is putting getting your 30-inch steps, moving forward, leaning forward, let the weight take you. And I want to thank Jeremy. I want to thank the Veterans Club.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys.
We've got a lot of good people a part of this movement, and like you said, whether you're helping one person or 100 people, we're helping at least one, and if that can make the difference, we're doing our job. So
that's right.
Again, Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I look forward to following up with you, Matt and I look forward to whooping
getting
it
our hands dirty.
pushing
I don't know about riding horses, but I'll come.
You heard that? No, now Jeremy, we have to do
Well, we build Jeeps too. We got something for everybody, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
We got you covered, Matt.
You know what you need to do to facilitate Matt is you need to have an old man sweater weaving time.
Hey, I know a guy.
Football.
Yeah.
And football. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, well, we got a big screen in the barn, so there
it is. That's where I'll be. That's where I'll
be. Well, ladies and gentlemen that are watching, I want to thank our guest again, Jeremy. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on, and we look forward to growing this friendship and relationship moving forward.
Absolutely. Same here, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Yeah, man. If you're watching, if you're a veteran or you're active duty or you are a family member and somebody who's not on tonight, please tell them to get into this episode and watch this and really dissect it. This message is so important.
This is our whole. This is what we do, right?
Yeah.
But I think it took us a few episodes. You and I have always been confident in how and what we're doing here in Disarrange. I think trying to, going the beginning struggles, as Jeremy touched on, our struggle was trying to really effectively communicate what we were doing.
Sure.
When I ran across Jeremy online and we spoke to him the other night, I was like, damn, like this is.
Yeah,
there's nothing better, and it also makes us feel better. It makes me feel better. It gives me the warm and fuzzies that. As much as I sit here at night, I'm like, there's got to be other people like this. There's got to be other people. When we met Jeremy, that just gave me such a warm feeling that, we're not alone in this. And we just have to put a little effort, man. That's it. A little effort goes a long, long way, man.
Yeah, it's amazing because I know it's not just veterans and others that suffer from trauma and from these thoughts. We talk about sometimes I'll be having the best day of my life and I'll be sitting in the car going to 7-Eleven or something like that. And then all of a sudden I have this overwhelming feeling that like I'm going to lose everything in my life that I love. And just, like Jeremy, he's out there helping tornado victims and he's thinking about, the worst thoughts in the world. And these are things that happen to real people every day, man. And I think that's the important message is, like we were talking about even before we came on air, it's just understanding that this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Keep putting that foot in front of the other. Keep trying. Keep getting up in the morning, even if it's a slow process. Know that it's gonna pass. That you have people out there that care, that are going through the exact same fucking thing. right? We're all dealing with stuff, and we're all here for each other. So,
one thing I was told about 20 minutes to touch on that, Matt, 20 minutes before we started, I never took your advice or my girlfriend's advice about not doing therapy before we hop on here. But one thing that was told to me today was every day's best may not be the same best as the last, right?
that's right.
As long as you're giving your best, and sometimes your best may be dragging your ass out of the bed and going to the bathroom. If you can honestly sit here and look at yourself and say, this was my best today,
I did it.
That's an accomplishment. That is a milestone, and you have to start looking at it. David Goggins says it the best. Take a look. Take a look at your cookie jar. You got to look at the things that you've already been through and all the badass stuff that you've already done. And if that is your best, you can't hate on that. You can't hate on a man's progress, no matter how slow or fast, right?
No, not at all. And again, I want to encourage those who are veterans or first responders or anybody with trauma like that. Start to look into even if you're active duty. I know Gunny Perez was on, man. Encourage your guys to start to look into stuff like this for their after service life. Walking into situations like this where they have support, where they don't have to flounder around for years, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I don't have any friends anymore. And dealing with alcohol and going through jobs. And, there's stuff out there now that you can plug yourself into right off the bat. So what you're dealing with isn't as bad, or your transition out of things isn't as bad. There's a lot of resources, and like we said 100 times tonight, the first part is just doing it.
Yeah, and I'm looking as you're talking, man. I'm looking at all the comments that we've had this episode, and I think this episode has kind of hit home. I know it's hit home for me.
Yes, 100%.
As I'm scrolling through here, and I know we normally pop a lot of these up here, but I think everybody's on the same page. I think everybody understands kind of where our position is on this, and understanding that our mission isn't done. I feel we've created a lot of bonds and friendships and brotherhoods and sisterhoods throughout our years. And, if this is my life moving forward, this is where I'm going to dedicate everything that I have in support of this. And I just really appreciate everybody. Shit, man, we just hopping on here and talking and being open and vulnerable. That's it.
Well, it's amazing. Jeremy said probably 10 times that, the job's never done and he's not fixed. And we were on here doing our pre-show checks and talked about some of the stuff we're going through. And I said, it's about acceptance, saying, hey, this is just who I am, and these are seasons that I'm going to go through in my life. And that's okay. And understanding that
people may see this too and think like, oh, we're hopping on here and just talking. But like, to your point, Matt, it was 8.5 minutes before we hopped online. I'm sitting here trying to get my head together, talking to you, and you and I were having a heart to heart like we normally do at midnight at night. We were off air.
Yeah,
it was 5 minutes before we hopped on here to try to provide. So listen, like Jeremy said, not necessarily fix. We're here to manage. We're all going through it. He's been doing this for 4 years, and he's sitting there chopping trees down to help people that just lost everything that they own. And he's talking about how he doesn't want to be there.
These are daily struggles, man. Without a doubt, they're daily struggles. There's times where I'm like, you know what, man, I want to go home and sit and watch TV. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. And there's just something that picks me up and says, okay, let's go. Let's plan the next episode. And that you just got to keep going. You just got to keep putting that 30-inch steps.
30-inch steps. That's awesome, brother. I think this. I think we did well today.
Yeah, I love this episode, man. Get everybody to watch this episode.
Yeah,
that needs to watch it.
I'm gonna say it right here now, Matt. I'm not one of like this. You know that, but I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna be a Babe Ruth right now and point to the outfield. This relationship with the Veterans Club, Matt and I are very committed on learning, being a part of, and spreading a message. And this is probably one of our biggest shows in terms of what the growth of our show is going to be in the coming months. I really believe that in my heart to heart.
No, I agree. And ultimately we want to get our hands dirty. You know, it's
doing
this.
We have, and you guys don't know. You guys see what we show here on our social media and on our live shows, but Matt and I put a lot of effort into trying to figure out where this is going and where and how we're going to be able to provide value, and not only provide value but make a difference.
Yep. That's the main thing.
I think we're already kind of providing the value, but I want to make a difference. I want to make something that's going to last a lot longer than this heart in my chest is beating. So
yeah.
Thanks again for another great week, brother.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate your advice today and walking me through my little journey of recovery. And side, brother, I love you. Thank you.
Love you too. We love all of our Disarranged family out there. Continue to have a good week. Hang in there, and we will see you next week. You can always DM or get a hold of me and Turner on any of our social media meta wacky versus things we got going on. We're always on them. So if you have questions, you need to be pointed in the right direction, just please hit us up.
With that being said, everybody, thank you so much. Again, episode 12. It's kind of hard to believe, but we did it, and we're here, and we're moving forward, and we're getting better than ever. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Please go visit the Veterans Club Incorporated on all social media platforms. Make sure you go check out Disarranged 1775 Talk Show on Spotify, Disarranged 1775 across all social media platforms. And we're going to leave you with another great bomb-ass intro. And thank you, everybody, so much. And be safe. Talk to you next week. Oh, wrong one.
Welcome to Disarranged 1775, your #1 live talk show.